Welcome to the Trackpads podcast, your go-to destination for exploring the rich history, strategies, and leadership lessons of warfare. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast and sign up for the weekly newsletter. You can also explore more by visiting trackpads.com. The psychology of leadership under fire. Combat is the ultimate test of leadership, where decisions must be made in seconds and the consequences are often life or death. Leaders under fire face extreme psychological demands, balancing fear, responsibility, and relentless pressure, while ensuring their teams remain cohesive and effective. Success on the battlefield is not just about tactics and firepower. It hinges on the ability to manage stress, make rapid decisions, and inspire confidence under the worst conditions imaginable. The traits that define great combat leaders, from emotional intelligence to resilience, are forged through training, experience, and an unbreakable commitment to those they lead. By examining the psychology behind leadership in crisis, we gain insight into what makes a leader effective when everything is on the line, and how these lessons apply beyond the battlefield. The psychological demands of combat leadership. Fear and uncertainty are constants in combat, but effective leaders cannot afford to succumb to them. The ability to manage personal fear while projecting confidence is a skill honed through training, experience, and sheer force of will. Leaders must recognize that fear is a natural response to danger, but cannot allow it to dictate their actions or influence their subordinates negatively. Maintaining composure in moments of chaos reassures troops and allows for better decision-making, preventing rash actions that could lead to mission failure. This ability to remain calm under pressure is often the difference between a unit holding together or falling apart when faced with overwhelming odds. The responsibility of a combat leader extends beyond their own survival. They are accountable for the safety and effectiveness of their team. Balancing personal well-being with duty to others is a psychological burden that weighs heavily on those in command. Leaders must push themselves forward despite risk, setting the example and inspiring confidence in those who look to them for direction. This dynamic requires a careful assessment of risk versus reward, ensuring that decisions prioritize mission success without unnecessary loss of life. The most effective leaders recognize that their position demands personal sacrifice, and they willingly shoulder that burden to protect their teams while accomplishing objectives. Decisions in combat are rarely made with complete information, and hesitation can be fatal. Leaders must make high-stakes choices under extreme time constraints, often with only partial intelligence and rapidly shifting conditions. This level of pressure forces commanders to rely on a combination of training, instinct, and an ability to process uncertainty without becoming paralyzed. The best leaders excel at making calculated decisions based on experience and sound judgment, even when the full picture is obscured. Learning to operate effectively in this environment requires not just tactical knowledge, but also the mental resilience to accept that no decision is ever made with perfect clarity. The moral weight of leadership in combat is immense, as every decision carries the potential for life and death consequences. Ordering troops into battle means accepting responsibility for what happens to them, and that burden never fully disappears. Leaders must reconcile the necessity of lethal force with their own ethical and emotional limits, ensuring that they remain humane even when violence is unavoidable. The ability to cope with these challenges varies among individuals, but strong moral foundations and support networks can help leaders navigate the emotional toll. Many carry the weight of their decisions long after the battle is over, wrestling with the ghosts of those lost under their command. Sustained combat stress is not just a temporary hardship. It can leave lasting scars on the mind and body. The relentless pressure of combat leadership increases the risk of burnout, where mental and physical exhaustion degrade effectiveness and decision-making. Worse still, prolonged exposure to traumatic events can lead to post-traumatic stress disorder, a condition that has plagued warriors throughout history. Leaders must recognize these dangers not only for themselves, but for their troops, ensuring that mental resilience and recovery are as much a priority as operational success. The strongest leaders are not those who ignore stress, but those who acknowledge it, manage it, and create an environment where their teams can endure the trials of war without succumbing to its long-term effects. Key traits of effective leaders under fire. Emotional intelligence is one of the most critical yet often overlooked traits of a combat leader. The ability to regulate one's emotions in high-stress environments is essential to maintaining clarity and control. Equally important is recognizing the emotional states of subordinates, as fear, fatigue, and anxiety can erode a unit's effectiveness. A leader who understands how to read their team and respond appropriately, whether with reassurance, motivation, or decisive action, can keep morale intact even in the face of overwhelming adversity. Emotional intelligence also plays a crucial role in conflict resolution, ensuring that tensions within the unit do not spiral into dysfunction at the worst possible moment. Resilience and mental toughness separate those who endure combat's brutal realities from those who falter under pressure. War does not allow for extended moments of self-doubt or hesitation, and leaders must remain steadfast even when exhaustion and uncertainty threaten to overwhelm them. Resilient leaders absorb setbacks without losing focus, adapting to the ever-changing nature of battle while maintaining their composure. This mental toughness is not about being immune to fear or stress, but about pushing forward despite them. The best combat leaders develop resilience through rigorous training, a deep sense of duty, and an unbreakable commitment to their mission and men. Confidence and decisiveness in leadership can mean the difference between victory and disaster. Troops look to their leaders for guidance, and hesitation or uncertainty in a high-stakes environment can create confusion and erode trust. A confident leader inspires confidence in others, reinforcing the belief that the mission is achievable even when the odds seem impossible. Decisiveness, however, must be grounded in sound judgment. Acting boldly without considering consequences can be just as dangerous as hesitation. The most respected battlefield commanders project authority and competence, making decisions quickly and standing by them with unwavering conviction. Empathy in combat may seem like a contradiction, but it is one of the most defining traits of a truly effective leader. Leaders who genuinely care about their troops foster loyalty, trust, and a willingness to follow even in the harshest conditions. Empathy does not mean weakness. It means understanding the physical and emotional toll combat takes on soldiers and making decisions that reflect that awareness. Leaders who ignore this aspect risk alienating their teams, leading to resentment, exhaustion, and breakdowns in cohesion. A commander who balances tactical necessity with genuine concern for their troops builds a force that fights harder, longer, and with greater purpose. Situational awareness is the linchpin of effective battlefield leadership, allowing commanders to anticipate threats, exploit opportunities, and make informed decisions. The ability to process multiple streams of information, enemy movements, terrain, weather, unit positioning, and morale can determine whether an operation succeeds or ends in disaster. Leaders with sharp situational awareness maintain a mental map of the battlefield, constantly adjusting their strategies to match evolving conditions. This skill is not purely instinctive, it is developed through experience, training, and an unwavering commitment to staying informed. In combat, the leader who sees the battlefield most clearly is often the one who survives and wins. Decision-making and problem-solving. Training and experience are the foundation of a leader's ability to make rapid, effective decisions in combat. The battlefield does not allow for leisurely deliberation. Choices must be made in seconds, often with lives hanging in the balance. Well-trained leaders rely on ingrained instincts, rehearsed drills, and past experiences to guide their actions, reducing hesitation in moments of crisis. Repeated exposure to decision-making in high-pressure environments, whether through realistic simulations or actual combat, sharpens a leader's ability to process information quickly. Without proper training, even the most intelligent individuals can freeze under stress, while seasoned leaders learn to act decisively without second-guessing themselves. Knowing when to rely on intuition versus analytical thinking is a skill that separates great leaders from average ones. In rapidly evolving situations, there is rarely time for deep analysis, and gut instinct, honed through experience, often becomes the deciding factor. However, over-reliance on instinct can be dangerous when a situation requires a methodical, data-driven approach. Effective leaders develop the ability to switch between these two modes of thinking, understanding when intuition is enough and when detailed assessment is necessary. The balance between these approaches depends on the complexity of the problem, the available information, and the time constraints imposed by the battlefield. Prioritizing objectives and managing limited resources is an ongoing challenge in combat leadership. The battlefield is an environment of scarcity. There is never enough time, manpower, ammunition, or intelligence to do everything perfectly. Leaders must constantly assess what matters most, deciding which objectives are critical and which must be delayed or abandoned. The ability to make these tough calls requires not only strategic thinking but also emotional discipline, as sacrifices are often necessary. Misallocation of resources can be fatal, and the best commanders excel at making sure their unit's strength is directed where it will have the greatest impact. Cognitive biases can distort battlefield decision-making, leading even experienced leaders to make costly mistakes. Confirmation bias, for example, can cause a commander to see only the information that supports their initial plan while ignoring warning signs that suggest an adjustment is needed. The sunk cost fallacy can lead leaders to persist with a failing strategy simply because they have already invested time and resources into it. Recognizing and mitigating these biases requires self-awareness, input from trusted advisors, and the ability to challenge one's own assumptions. Leaders who can filter out bias and make clear-headed decisions under fire increase their chances of success and survival. History is filled with examples of battlefield leaders making extraordinary decisions under extreme pressure. During the Battle of Gettysburg, Colonel Joshua Chamberlain's quick thinking and bold bayonet charge at Little Round Top saved the Union flank despite overwhelming odds. In World War II, General Dwight Eisenhower's decision to proceed with the D-Day invasion despite uncertain weather forecasts was a calculated risk that changed the course of history. More recently, modern special operations commanders have demonstrated split-second decision-making in hostage rescues and counter-terrorism missions, showcasing the continued importance of decisive leadership under fire. These moments serve as powerful reminders that the ability to make the right call in chaos is what defines truly exceptional leaders. Leadership styles in crisis. Directive leadership thrives in moments of extreme urgency, where hesitation or confusion can lead to disaster. In high-stakes combat scenarios, clear and authoritative commands ensure swift execution of orders, preventing chaos and maintaining unit cohesion. This leadership style is particularly effective when there is no time for discussion and immediate action is required to survive or achieve mission success. Leaders who adopt a directive approach must be precise, confident, and unambiguous, leaving no room for misinterpretation. While some view this style as rigid, it is indispensable in situations where discipline and rapid response mean the difference between life and death. Delegative leadership takes a different approach, relying on the competence and initiative of subordinates to make critical decisions. This style is crucial in decentralized operations, where battlefield conditions prevent constant oversight from senior leaders. By empowering junior officers and enlisted personnel to act independently, delegative leadership fosters adaptability and faster response times. However, this method only works if subordinates are well-trained and trust their leader's intent, knowing when to take initiative and when to seek guidance. The most effective combat leaders master the art of delegation, allowing their teams to function autonomously without losing overall strategic direction. Transformational leadership inspires soldiers to go beyond mere obedience and embrace a shared purpose, often sustaining morale in prolonged or grueling conflicts. Leaders who use this approach create a vision that unites their troops, fostering commitment beyond just following orders. They lead by example, demonstrating courage, resilience, and an unshakable belief in the mission. This style is particularly valuable in situations where the odds seem insurmountable, as it gives troops a sense of meaning that strengthens their resolve. The most influential wartime leaders, such as General Patton or Admiral Nimitz, used inspiration as a force multiplier, driving their forces to achieve remarkable feats even under dire circumstances. Balancing flexibility with structure is one of the most challenging aspects of crisis leadership. While a rigid command structure ensures discipline and order, excessive inflexibility can lead to catastrophic failures when conditions change unexpectedly. The best leaders know when to enforce standard operating procedures and when to deviate based on real-time information. They recognize that too much structure stifles innovation, while too much flexibility can lead to disorder. Successful commanders walk this tightrope with precision, adapting to battlefield dynamics while ensuring their troops maintain focus and cohesion. History offers countless examples of leaders successfully applying these styles in combat. During the D-Day invasion, General Eisenhower combined directive leadership in the planning phase with delegative leadership on the battlefield, trusting commanders on the ground to adjust to unfolding chaos. In the Pacific, Admiral Chester Nimitz embodied transformational leadership, rallying his forces to believe in ultimate victory despite early setbacks. More recently, modern special operations forces demonstrate a blend of all these styles, shifting from strict directives during critical assaults to decentralized autonomy in long-term missions. These real-world cases illustrate that no single leadership style is sufficient. True battlefield leadership requires the ability to switch approaches depending on the situation at hand. The role of morale and team dynamics. Trust and cohesion are not built in the heat of battle, they are forged long before the first shots are fired. Soldiers fight not just for their country or commanders, but for the person next to them, and that bond must be cultivated through training, shared hardship, and mutual respect. Leaders play a critical role in developing this trust by setting the standard for integrity, competence, and reliability. Units that train together, struggle together, and develop a sense of shared identity function more effectively when the pressure is at its highest. Without trust, hesitation creeps in, and hesitation in combat can be fatal. Sustaining morale during prolonged or intense engagements is one of the greatest challenges a leader faces. Fatigue, loss, and the sheer brutality of combat can wear down even the most hardened troops, making it essential for leaders to keep their teams focused and motivated. Small gestures, such as recognizing individual efforts or providing moments of respite, can have an outsized impact in sustaining morale. A strong sense of purpose, reinforced by a leader who radiates confidence and determination, can carry troops through situations that seem insurmountable. Soldiers will push beyond their limits when they believe in their leader and the mission, but a leader who fails to maintain morale risks seeing their unit crumble under pressure. Communication and transparency serve as the glue that holds a unit together in crisis. Leaders who fail to provide clear and honest communication sow confusion, frustration, and distrust among their troops. In contrast, those who keep their teams informed, even in dire situations, reinforce unity and resolve. Transparency does not mean revealing every detail, but it does mean ensuring that troops understand the bigger picture and trust their leader's decision. The best commanders create an environment where information flows both ways, allowing troops to voice concerns while ensuring that orders are understood and executed effectively. Combat takes a toll on the human mind and body, and leaders must recognize the signs of stress or fatigue before they become debilitating. A soldier who is physically exhausted or mentally overwhelmed is not just a liability to themselves, but to the entire unit. Effective leaders pay close attention to their troops, knowing when to push forward and when to allow recovery. Ignoring stress leads to burnout, errors in judgment, and in extreme cases, psychological collapse. The best leaders do not just issue orders. They watch over their teams, ensuring that no one is left to suffer in silence. Post-crisis recovery is just as important as battlefield leadership, and great commanders do not abandon their troops once the fight is over. Processing trauma, rebuilding morale, and reinforcing unit cohesion after a harrowing engagement determine whether a team remains effective for future missions. Leaders must acknowledge what their troops have endured, provide avenues for decompression, and set the tone for resilience moving forward. A unit that is not given time to recover mentally and physically will see its effectiveness degrade over time. Those who understand that leadership does not end when the battle does ensure that their people are ready to fight another day. Conclusion. Leadership under fire is a test of both character and skill, demanding a rare combination of resilience, decisiveness, and emotional intelligence. The best combat leaders are those who can remain composed under pressure, make rapid yet sound decisions, and maintain the morale and cohesion of their teams, even in the face of overwhelming adversity. They balance authority with empathy, structure with flexibility, and instinct with analysis, ensuring that their units function effectively in the chaos of battle. Beyond the battlefield, these leadership lessons offer valuable insights into managing crises, making high-stakes decisions, and leading with purpose in any demanding environment. Understanding the psychology of leadership under fire not only honors those who have faced these trials, but also equips future leaders, military and civilian alike, with the knowledge to lead when it matters most. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Trackpads podcast. Don't forget to check out the Trackpads online newsletter, where we take things to the next level with multimedia content. Each issue features fascinating and informative photos, videos, and articles that bring the stories of military life to you in a dynamic and engaging way. Be sure to subscribe at trackpads.com to stay informed and entertained. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the incredible world of military history and life.